From emails to reports and project proposals, it's hard to meet the demands of today's competing priorities without some help. Grammarly is the essential AI communication assistant that boosts your productivity at work so you can get more of what you need done faster. Just a few clicks can tailor your tone and writing so you come across exactly as you intend. Get time back to focus on your high-impact work. Download Grammarly for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That's grammarly.com/podcast.
Big news! Wayfair's end-of-season sale is here. It's Wayfair's Labor Day clearance. Right now, you can score up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, amazing doorbuster deals and 24-hour surprise flash deals on home finds in every style. This is your last chance to score end-of-season savings, and it's happening now. Did we mention fast shipping on everything? Don't wait. Head to wayfair.com today to score up to 70% off now through September 2nd.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Welcome once again to the Solo Promoter Podcast. My name is Grant Pachoco. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for checking this out. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. A big shout out to all of our Golden Circle channel members who help make this show possible. A little bit of a different intro today because our main event is an interview, an in-depth interview with the one and only Tom Filsinger. We're going to go through everything about MythWorlds 2. We're going to go through some Promoter Prime stuff, and we're going to talk about Tom's Fed and lots of different things. You're going to love this interview. I do want to say a few things before we get going. This episode is being released as an audio and a video podcast, so you'll definitely want to check out the video if you are listening to the audio because as Tom usually does, he sent along a bunch of preliminary and unused art for the MythWorld 2 set that you're going to want to check out because it's really, really fun and it really shows the creative process that goes into these cards. The link for the video will be in the show notes. So if you're listening to us via just audio, thank you very much, but you'll definitely want to check these out and maybe skim through the video and see the art that we're talking about. Speaking of audio, this interview was recorded over Zoom, and Zoom's sound quality is not always the greatest, so there's some sort of noise artifacts in this. I tried my best to get rid of them, but they're still kind of there, so I apologize about that, but I think this interview is very, very listenable. Like, you're not going to struggle to hear Tom or anything. But if you are listening audio, I will say we do spend some time looking at pictures, so there's a couple moments where there's just silence as we're both taking in this unused art, and then Tom will explain it. So anyway, there you go. This isn't the ultimate audio episode, basically, is what I'm saying. Finally, before we jump to the interview, I want to let you know about Galactical 2025. It is coming up on Sunday, September 21st in Burbank, California. We have only two spots left for promoters to join us. So if you want to join us, you've got to RSVP. This isn't like one of those things where you can just decide to come over on the day and there's plenty of room and there's plenty of tables. We have our own private room. The venue, Geeky Teas and Games in Burbank, California, has a strict limit to how many people can be in that room, but we still have spots left. So if you are in Southern California and would like to join us, the link for the post I made on the message board about Galactical 2025 is in the show notes, so you can check that out as well. All right, enough chatting. Let's get on with the interview. Here now is my interview with the one and only Tom Filsinger. Well, I am excited once again to be joined by the one, the only, the Dark Menace. Please welcome Tom Filsinger. Hello, Tom. How are you?
Hey, really good, Grant. It's always an annual pleasure to talk to you and our fans about the new game.
Well, it was funny because I think during your Q&A at Galacticon, you kind of foreshadowed this, like, oh, we're gonna sit down and do this talk, and I was very honored that you see it as part of the release because it's a lot of fun to do, and I'm a big fan, and we have a lot of things we need to get through, so let's just start going because we're gonna do our usual card by card. And you already kind of saw the first card as I switched to it, and that is the exclusive we got from the Road to Galacticon, and that is Clea. What was the idea about doing sort of an announcer interviewer card? Is it just because we haven't had one for a while?
Partially, but also we needed to have something. I forgot what the event was that this was associated with.
Road to Galacticon.
Right. We wanted a Road to Galacticon card. And we didn't have an announcer or somebody like this. It seemed like a good time to do it.
Excellent. Well, it's fantastic art, and it's it's a great card. And we were talking right before we started recording about using this in our feds, and I recently had a promoter say that if they roll for initiative at the beginning and they roll doubles, that's when they roll on a card like this. And I thought that was like kind of an interesting take on when to bring this kind of card in to your feds.
I think it's a good idea. Thank you, because I haven't been using this one a lot yet. It's just a mindset. I just have overlooked it. I'm going to look into that now as a result of our conversation, because, somebody like this could really well be used for storylines.
Yeah. And I apologize to the promoter who suggested that. I would like giving credit, and I don't know who it was that suggested that, but it's a great suggestion. All right, so that was kind of our little teaser going into Mythworlds 2.
And it's Tom Rickard art there on that one.
Yeah, it's really great. It's great artwork.
Just completed a new one that people will have seen by now when this shows, because it's for a new character coming in Promoter Prime.
Oh, excellent. Well, I left a little spot in this slideshow where maybe we could talk about that as we go on. So this will be out. But let's get into Mythworlds proper, the great new set and the coming of the Celestial Dragons, the new supergroup. And we will start with what the first teaser. And actually, this guy we got a little teaser on our last talk, where you showed us sort of you actually showed us this image where it was the poses. But can you talk about, and am I saying the name right? I'm going to have you say the names again. Jotnar?
Okay.
Is that how you say
I say Jotnar.
Jotnar. Okay. Yeah. So talk about bringing him in as sort of a ally to Loki.
Yeah, I'm liking the way this is playing in my own fed. I wanted somebody to be Loki's underling, who is in charge of the creatures that he's accumulated. And Jotnar's in mythology, one of North mythology, one of the frost giants. But I didn't want to have, obviously, a giant. And since the worlds we inhabit here in Mythworlds are not exact replicas of our mythology, because I think I've said we pick them up through our imagination, but we don't pick them up totally accurately. They're filtered. And so he's not a giant, but he's strong. And I've already gotten my own fed. Thor and Heracles have defeated every one of their challengers among the creatures of Monster Island. Both of them have had a stumbling block with the basilisk, who is probably impossibly the strongest one anyway. So, but I'm really waiting for this to happen, because once they beat the last creature, now they go after Jotnar. And so that feud with Jotnar and Loki gets some steam. So I just wanted to have a handler for those creatures, and that's why we have this character.
Excellent. Well, yeah, we're going to talk about the trials and the labors here in just a second when we get to Heracles. But can you, and I know you've talked about this before, but maybe if this is somebody's first podcast they're listening to, or the first time they're seeing this video, can you talk about the process of how you decide on the poses? Is this the first thing that you get from Daryl?
Yeah. It depends on the character. Sometimes, if it's an established character, this will be first. If it's not an established character, I'll first get drafts of what the character could look like. And then once we have gotten that, then we start doing the pose part. And picking a pose is pretty much intuitive. So that's all I can say is it's purely aesthetic and intuitive. I say to myself, I like this one better. I think it's a better pose for a game card. That is certainly debatable. Everybody would see something different. or maybe not. Maybe most people would agree that one of them would work better. I don't know. Have to trust my instincts on that.
Well,
That's
and
my answer.
yeah, no, and then this is this sort of the next step once you have the pose? It's give us a
Yeah,
drawing.
right. And this had, I don't remember what I said needed to be different. Maybe not much, but that face looks different.
Yeah, I think we
Um,
can. It's
no,
kind
no,
of
maybe
close.
not. Maybe that's just inking and color added. This might have been finalized as okay. I don't know if there was any differences.
Yeah, well, he's certainly a fun character, and you wouldn't want to get punched with those knuckles or an elbow with those elbows.
Yeah.
I think for sure.
In
Uh,
my Fed, I've had him be accused of trying to get Chernobog, and that's starting up a feud with Sango and Chernobog against Jotnar and Loki. I'll have them feud with them for a while before Thor and Heracles get wrapped up with the monster one, and then they will then have their feud with them.
Excellent, and that's all just based on results of things you've rolled out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, this is I think my favorite card of the set. I just love this character, Quental. Am I saying that the same way you would say it?
Yeah. I don't talk to myself when I'm playing, so I don't sometimes think of what's the proper way to say it. I'm trying to think what I have been doing naturally, and I think it's something like Kental, um, Quental, Kental. Both are acceptable language to use.
What I love about this character is he sort of seems like, like they would do it a lot in westerns where there would be the bad guy, but then there would be his right hand person who was a little crazy and like very dangerous and almost like more dangerous than the bad guy,
Yeah,
And that's kind of how I see this character is he's like he wants to fight everyone and like Jade Emperor is almost like hold on, not
right.
now. That's kind of how I see this character.
Yeah, I'm playing that out that way in my Fed right now. In fact, he's like the enforcer of the group. Chernobog could be, but Chernobog's mentally, not as intelligent. Let's put it that way. So here's the guy who you want if you're Jade Emperor to be watching your back with this guy, because he's also somebody who might stage a coup at some point if he feels like things are not going the way they should.
Well, and for this character, we've got some poses. And what I notice here, looking at these, is he doesn't have the full face. He looks more humanoid here in these photos or in these drawings.
Yeah, I hate when this happens, because we didn't establish the look first. So I have to go back to poor Daryl and say, I guess I should have explained this better. This is what I want, and I have to show him an image of something so that he has an idea of what we're trying to go for. And right, the poses were fine, and I don't know if I used one of these poses. I'd have to see. Kind of,
Kinda, yeah, like that the
a
top
little bit,
left one, yeah.
but we had to establish that the character looked different. Yeah. Wow. Boy, those, black and white Daryl Banks is a whole art form itself.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty darn close. Yeah, it's just flipped, I guess.
And now, I know it's a sort of up to you promoter type thing, maybe, but is this a mask he's wearing or is this his head? Because I noticed he has like the long talon
Could I
fingernails.
see the color version again?
Sure.
Yeah, I see this as him. And
Yeah.
maybe the mask starts around. There might be something added between what would be around his eyes up to his forehead. In other words, it could be a combination of him and advanced technology.
Yeah. So he sort of has the beak, but then the headdress sits on a little bit. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it's, yeah. I have him. We always have had this rule in the Fed that if somebody's got claws like he does, or some fangs like he does, a beak like he does, that they have to go through some modification before they can enter the ring. Otherwise, they'd kill somebody.
Right.
And so he does. Nonetheless, those are still weapons. They're just not lethal weapons. And I have him using a move on his card, the bite of the serpent or something like that, like a wild man, like the Sheik or something. And he's showing his more animalistic side in my promotion. He's trying to be intimidating because he knows Jade Emperor is not going to do that.
Yeah. So when he gets in the ring, the ref is there with nail clippers. Okay, you got you got to trim these down.
Like umpires who check pitchers every inning.
Yeah.
For what's on their hands. Yeah.
Well, wrestling refs used to do that too. Remember, they used to check the hands and check the boots.
They would check the boots.
Yeah. They don't do that anymore.
That is funny to watch old matches, and I watch stuff on YouTube. It's interesting to see how wrestling has changed that way.
Yeah. And then we have the Morrigan, if I'm saying that correctly. I don't know.
Morrigan.
Morrigan.
Again, I don't want to stop you from saying it your way.
It's Kraken. No, just kidding. But yeah, no, a new female wrestler coming into the ranks, and you sent along. I thought these were interesting, kind of different takes on the character too, because one kind of looks, with the smile, like sassy, like I'm gonna, I don't know, if sassy is the right word, but like, and then definitely the one on the right is certainly intimidating for sure.
I wanted that more. Yeah, I didn't want the sassy. To me, she's not a sassy character. She's a mysterious character and a dark character, but not necessarily a bad guy or gal. But I wanted that mysterious, darker look. And this is getting there. I'd have to see the color to see how it can. Oh yeah, the facial expression changed.
Yeah, she's just kind of looking down. Got a more.
I guess I'm sure I said I wanted something like what I got.
And were you reading more myths before this go around, or did you already kind of have these from the last set?
No, I read more. I read a lot more, knowing that what I was going to be doing, but not knowing exactly how. So I read a lot. I must have a notes of about 50 characters that I thought this could work, and then narrowed them down to the 5 I used, or 4 or 5. I think it's 5.
Wow. Well, I think we have some questions coming up when we get to promoter questions that will that ask a little bit about upcoming myths as well.
Boy, I'll tell you though, when you add the colors and the backgrounds, holy cow, it pops. My gosh, we have a great team. I'll tell you that. And I like how he added those, whatever flying fowls they are in the background.
Yeah, the ravens or the crows.
Yeah. Ravens, whatever. Yeah, it's good. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm admiring it now in a different way.
No, that's why we go through this.
Yeah.
And here's Django, who we have a couple different poses for him as well.
And the look was evolving there still too.
Yeah.
Which one is? Oh yeah, the left top is closest. Yeah. So right, we just had to get the look down.
Yeah, he looks like.
Oh, that's the black and white. That's pretty much the way the color turned out, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much difference.
There might have been some coloring changes, because that's always another step. And I gave you at least, I think, one where the colors changed dramatically.
Yeah, we have a couple coming up. I thought that was really neat.
Because I'll hand them over to Tom, and unless I have color direction, I will say, see what you can do. And that'll tell me if I need to make a change.
So let's talk a little bit about this character. He comes in sort of as partners with Chenabog, but yeah, just a really great character, and I'm interested. I have them right now in my Fed as a team, but I'm interested in seeing what he can do solo as well.
Yeah, I'm going to do that eventually at some point too. Although right now, I think I told you, on my next main card, I've got them up against Loki and Jotnar, and I'll see what happens.
Excellent.
And because I want to see if I want to keep developing that storyline of them trying to get Chernobog or pulling it off.
Yeah, I'll tell you I had a lot of fun. Well, I mean, it's not. I had a lot of fun last year in MythWorlds 1 with the Ring of Power and Loki trying to get it, and it just led to a lot of really fun things. So I like when there's these little storylines that you can connect. It's like, oh, Loki can control animals. Oh, he might be able to control Chenabog as well. So I think that's a fun little thing in there. It opens up a lot of possibilities. Yeah.
Oh, well, now that I'm seeing this, I did send you a different color version. We don't have to go to that yet.
Yeah.
But it was dramatically different.
Yeah, it's interesting flipping back and forth between some of these. So talk about this character, about bringing in Chenabog. This is one of the 5 out of all the myths you kind of went through. This is one you decided on?
Right. It's a matter of a balanced team, different types. You got the Jade Emperor, the cunning, intelligent leader. Then you got Quental. Kental. Now I don't know what to say. Kental. And he, has that persona. And Sango, who's, not seeking power the way Jade and Kental are. But he's got a more closer alliance with Chernobog, or feels like there's a connection there. And Chernobog gives you, again, something different, a creature that we can add to the group. And he's very hard. It's one of those not great on offense, hard to hurt, though, on defense. Beating him, you're going to have to take a while to beat him down.
Well, let's look at this alternate coloring, because I think promoters are going to love this sort of difference. But this is how did you decide between these two, or when you got this one, how did you decide, well, this is not really correct?
Well, whenever I send something to Tom and I don't give complete instructions on colors, I have in my mind, however, how I think it'll come back. And this wasn't it. I immediately was struck by it because it wasn't anywhere near. I wanted what I wound up getting. Now, by the way, it's not that it's not good.
Yeah.
And it's not that it doesn't have a place. It's just simply what I didn't want at the time.
Yeah, this kind of makes him look more like hell or, demon.
Right.
Which I guess.
And he wasn't quite that, right?
Yeah. So.
Yeah. It sure is interesting as a difference, though. Maybe we can release some of the best of the alternate cards as special features. Some, if it's popular enough with people, we can always do a limited or special edition card for Galactic Con, a virtual con, something like that.
Yeah, or a coffee table book with all the process of art, all this stuff in there as well, because I know promoters would love to see it. All right, well, this one we have a lot of different things to look at for this one, but we've got Jade Emperor, and this is how the official card looks on the release. But we've got a couple different poses and rough kind of drawings here. So did you always picture him kind of sitting on a throne or the chair?
Yeah, that was given as an instruction. And I didn't want this kind of a pose. I wanted exactly what I got, a leader looking confidently forward. And this is interesting if it was a comic book, you'd have, 50 different versions of the character. Right. I'm always in a position where it's one drawing at a time. I mean, this would look good if you were telling a story and, he's thinking about something here.
Yeah, if you were illustrating that opening scene in the handbook, this might be one of the frames.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a
Well,
little bit more.
this is really, really simple. I just didn't like the face. I didn't, it wasn't the way I pictured him. Now, I don't know how close this is, but I knew from the beginning that I wanted a full body shot for the foil card. I already knew I was going to do that. And then I wanted to zoom in a little bit for the official release so that they would be different. But I wanted a full body shot of this guy. And I also wanted it for the cover that way. So that, he's the center of activity. He's the brains behind the operation.
Right.
This is a good character to explore if I have time to, because it's really not clear whether he's good or bad. And he might be Machiavellian. He might just simply be doing what he thinks is right for him and perhaps his people, even if it hurts somebody.
Right.
Just like I said, Machiavellian.
Well, and here's an alternate color for sure.
I asked for green first, green skin. I just didn't like the way it looked. Not just because, and then there's a bunch more. We even did, okay, let's do green skin, but a blue outfit to make him different. I never liked the way the green skin looked. It didn't settle well with me. And I'm glad I went away from it.
It certainly brings home the Jade part of Jade Emperor.
That was part of it. You know what I did? First off, we got what we got. And I don't believe in having to be literal about everything anyway. However, when I got him as just simply, a Caucasian-ish skin color, I thought, and now it still needs something. I said, give him the jade eyeshadow. And that'll be the way we bring it in. Not loud, subtle, but it adds something as opposed to just having nothing there.
Yeah. Well, and this was the foil card. This is the art for the foil card, the full body.
I get into the foil stuff. I go back and forth, but like on my next card, I've got a huge match, Pinnacle versus Jade Emperor. And I don't know if they faced each other in singles yet, but for that match, I don't write it this way because it sounds stupid to write it, but it's going to be foil versions of the two guys are going to go against each other.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you use both the foils and the regulars in your Fed. Yeah.
Yeah. Depending on kind of what they're being used for. In other words, if I'm kind of trying to build them up to be on a run for the belt or something, then I'll use the foil versions, and Anubis included, because they're not a lot better, but they're a little better.
And that's the regular card there, I guess, the non-foil card. So you can see the eyeshadow or green around.
Yeah, I like this character. I like these kind of villains. If he's a villain, he is. Like I said, if he's Machiavellian, so he would definitely be a villain to somebody.
Yeah. Well, and here is a return of a legendary character, and that is Heracles. What made you decide to bring him back into the fold? Is it just because he fits so well with Theseus and Asterion, or were you always kind of thinking like, since Pinnacle can bring people from wherever, I'm going to bring a legend back?
I didn't. When I hadn't thought through the details yet, I was really going to create a Hercules-like character. And then I was always just planning on that. And then I thought, I don't want this to become too overrun with people like Thor, who's already a huge character in mythology. And I've already got a guy like this. And then it just came to me that Godsend, and this is a Godsend thing, would say, I'm going to drop this guy here. That'll be funny, because that's the way he thinks. There's another good example of a person who's not blatantly a villain, but his actions are villainous. Jade Emperor in a different way. He's not doing it for fun. He's doing it all about power. So yeah, then once I did it, and then suddenly the character started writing himself that he doesn't know why he's here. He's a fun-loving guy that likes to live hard, partying, going out and meeting people, going off too far sometimes on all those things. And how's he going to react if he's suddenly in this new place where these mythological characters, to him, they're mythological characters.
Right.
So he just thinks he's dreaming or that this is a trick. And I've enjoyed playing him that way.
Well, we've got some different poses here.
This one was easy for me. I just thought the one pose in my mind was way better than the other ones.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're harder.
Yeah, it's kind of that top right.
But that's exactly the way I pictured it in my mind. Well, of course, I told him to do that, holding up a goblet, celebrating. But then there were other details, and I guess we're going to get to coloring again, too, where then the details need to be filled in. That might have been like the first. Well, I don't know when that was.
I thought this was funny.
I gave the impression, I told you a character description just a minute ago. Well, you could interpret my character description this way, but I didn't want it to look blatantly like that, like a lush that's just falling apart now at the bar. I didn't want it to be that extreme.
Well, again, this would be like another panel in the comic book.
Yeah, right. Yeah. After the match is laid, they're out, celebrating. I ought to keep all these black and whites and do a graphic novel sometime.
Absolutely. So this.
We
got different colors. Yeah.
I send to Tom and don't specify hair color, and so I got this. I thought, whoops, looks good. It's just that it's not his hair color historically.
Right. Yeah. See, the only thing that changes there is the hair. That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's all that needed it. But it was interesting to see it that way. We did have, I don't know if that's the color of what he's wearing. It might be blue in the final version or no.
This is this one we're looking at right now is the
this is final. Okay.
Is the final
so
one. Yeah.
I guess I didn't want it to be blue because it might have clad too much blue in the backgrounds and everything. Yeah, that was
He's very Steve Reeves Hercules, the classic Steve Reeves films, the Hercules films. He looks very
well. It's taking off from what the previous characterization was.
Yeah,
I like playing him. I'm not well. Yeah, I do like playing him, but I like, and we finally bring together two legends, Thor and Heracles, and Thor's like, what's up with this guy? I mean, I can work with him, but so they're not always, seeing things eye to eye. And I could see some people having them go off into a feud at some point.
Well, I'm only like 3 or 4 cards into the new year. I haven't had a ton of time to play, but I did have both of the first Labor's match and the first Trials of Thor match, and Heracles won very, very easily. Thor went up against Quagmire and he got beat. Like he got beat by Quagmire. So now I have Heracles like proposing a wager. The first one to finish their thing, is the winner. And you got what's the prize? I haven't figured all that out yet. But like he sees it as like this competition. Like, come on, let's
Thor.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's a good angle.
So
he would do that.
Yeah, come on, buddy. Let's see who can beat him.
At the same time that he does that, he'd like be pushing Thor and laughing and say, come on, do it.
Right, yeah.
Like they're still on the same team, sort of.
Yeah. It's just a competition to him. Like, let's see who can beat all these guys first.
Yeah. So I like that.
I'm excited to play that out and see how it goes.
Honestly, yeah.
Now, this one I don't have any sort of art or previous thing for, but this is Osiris, who we heard about in Mythworld's in the first Mythworld's book, that he was banished, probably at the with the help of Sutek as well, to this far off place.
Yeah, this means the art must have come pretty fast. Um, this is an example where I'm taking mythological stories and changing them for my purposes. It's nice to have this table here where I can move around the plates. And it's a beautiful, rich thing. Obviously, mythology wouldn't have lasted for centuries if it wasn't rich. But in the story in Egyptian mythology, Sutek, yes, he does get rid of Osiris, but he does so by chopping his body up into a bunch of small pieces. And now you're really in the mythological realm and then he can be brought back. That's mythology. I wasn't going to do anything nearly that extreme. I instead had him banished, and then he returns. It's similar to the mythological story and yet different in its details.
Is this a character? I'm assuming the answer is yes, but is this a character that when you wrote Mythworlds 1 and that set was coming out, you're like, oh, Osiris is definitely going to be in the second set?
Yeah, you know what I didn't know is how I didn't know how it was all going to come together. If I may say so myself, I really like the first scene in Mythworlds 2 where Jade Emperor is seeing these three people. I had no idea that these three people were going to have a storyline that united them. I knew Havoc was out there, and I knew I was bringing him back, and I knew that Jade Emperor and his people were going to bring him back. But I didn't know how Heracles was coming in. I didn't know for sure where Osiris was. Then it dawned on me to put them all on that asteroid, have Jade discover all of them, and that brings them all back in different ways at one time. Right, it all had to evolve how Heracles and Osiris came back.
Excellent. Well, I think I've only had one match with him so far, so I'm looking to explore his character.
Well, I'm waiting to have him take on Sutek, but Sutek has been too busy being my GWF champion. I mean, he isn't somebody you'd think would grab the belt and hold it. He has, and that's cool because him and Pinnacle, that's like that team has the main belt. Pinnacle doesn't even really need a belt to be a top guy. And they've also got Saber in my Fed in their stables, got my interplanetary belt. So they're kind of dominating the belt situation.
And there's not, when you're playing your Fed, is there not, Sutek's the champion, Osiris comes in. You don't put them together right away. You want to wait a little bit to.
Oh, no, I do. In the old days, I used to look at the GWF promoter newsletter, and everybody would send in their rankings. So there'd be this unified rankings. I'd use that to decide my top contenders. Since I don't believe I see that anywhere now, or I'm missing it, my guys have to earn it. They don't just get it automatically, unless occasionally the champion says, yeah, all right, I'll give you a match just to shut you up or something. And he willingly, even though he was starting to get ready, he willingly said he would go for the interplanetary belt, leaving Anubis and Havoc to go after Sutek, just as being a team player, when he failed to get the IP belt. So I'm waiting on that feud too of Sutek. And I keep thinking when Sutek loses his belt, I'll have it. But he's ridiculous. He's like, I'm not going to lose it though.
That's interesting.
He's going to face.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, he's got Havoc on the next card. That's a good buildup because Havoc obviously wants that belt badly. And I would have thought Havoc would have had an advantage, but Sutek's been getting rid of everybody. We're going to get to Thor, I guess. Thor's still coming, right? We didn't do him.
No, we haven't done him yet. We got two left.
Thor, in my Fed, Thor was steamrolling through everybody. Gave him a title shot against Sutek. Sutek built it up. Sutek beat him fast, or beat him without too much trouble. And then right after that, Thor starts going nuts again. For some reason, he folded in his big chance to win the big belt.
Yeah.
That's okay. I've got storylines for him ready to go. But it was interesting that Sutek just simply has been hard to beat.
Yeah, and it just shows you how different it is, because in my Fed, I've had trouble getting him going, Sutek going. That's just the way the dice go. But
yeah,
it's interesting how they work in different people's Feds.
It sure is.
Well, we got Snake Healer here. Titan Power went through a change. What made you want to mix up Titan Power's gimmick and make him the Snake Healer?
Okay, first off, when Apex left, I thought if I leave just a nothing to replace or do new with Diva's team, it's just clearly a team that's collapsing and is becoming irrelevant. I thought I don't, in my mind, Titan Power doesn't want to have that image associated with him just for his whole career. I mean, he had his beef with Lord Nexus. He's spoken it. He's had feuds. Diva took him aside and said, we need to do something. We lost Apex. I'm not gaining anybody. Nobody's interested right now. How about if I'll push you harder, but we need a new angle. And so, and to fit in with my entertainment theme, it ought to be an angle that has an entertainment quality. And I can imagine Titan Power saying something like, and saying it his way, by the way, saying something like, I kind of think snakes are cool. I could do that. And plus, it's in the face of Lord Nexus and Pit Viper. So, yeah, I'll do that. And so we have a new look.
Excellent.
In fact, on my next card, I had him fight Ice Star already, but I didn't focus on it yet. Next, he's going to face Faller, just to see if I can build some momentum there for getting him going some more. Because he already got a title shot. He won some early matches for me, but, was unsuccessful in winning a belt.
Yeah, Titan Power did his first card did well for me. He would win big matches, so I'm excited to use this one a little bit more. And this artwork.
Yeah, I love the art as usual. It's as usual. It's just great art.
Yeah, the skin on the snake is a lot of fun. That was a great ad, and I love these different styles with the fangs in some of them. But yeah, I guess the bottom right is the one that wound up being the one that worked.
And I still, sometimes I'll watch some of these with you or see them myself, and I'll think, gosh, one of those other ones was pretty good too. It would have been nice to have seen that finished. But this, just like one of the last ones we showed, Heracles, it might have been, I'm glad about the choice I made. I feel the same way here. I think the bottom right one is the one that I still like the best, although the left isn't bad either. They'd all look good when Daryl finishes them.
Yeah,
they would all look good.
Yeah, I didn't notice that in the official one, he is kind of doing the fangs over to the side, with his fingers over to the side. I don't know if that's purposely what he's doing, but when I saw these, I was like, oh yeah, he's kind of doing that in the final.
I believe that Daryl told me that he did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daryl's amazing. We have worked together so long now that we think like one mind. I mean, we have to go through things, but we're on the same wavelength when it comes down to it. And it's really a treat and an honor to have that as my main artist. I think all our game fans feel the same way.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. That's why we all want to, that's why I'm saying coffee table book with all this artwork in there. It'll be great to see. Well, then, and you kind of hinted the last time we spoke too, earlier this year, that Thor might be showing up as well. So was he somebody who, when you knew that Loki was going to be in, that Thor would be right behind him?
Yeah, I knew Thor was coming. I was planning that, yeah.
And we have some different.
Now, this is once we had the look. And there's another one where I'm glad I chose what I did. I think some of these could work, like the top left. So they could all work, but I like the one I chose for a card because, you know, with a card, you want to give the classic look because you only have one piece of art, like we said. And I thought that captured it.
Yeah, it's
And I
great.
love it. I think it turned out real nice.
And you said that he was kind of steamrolling everybody in your Fed when you first
Yeah.
brought him in.
Yeah, I had a three-way battle zone as one of my pay-per-views. 5 guys from the Liberators, like the top ones, 5 from the Ark, and there is only 5 in the Outer Realm. And, you know, they go against each other one at a time until only one single person is left standing. It doesn't have to just be one. You know, it could be that the Liberators' first guy beats everybody and the other 4 never appear. And I might have had one person, maybe 2 not appear. I think the Liberators won it. Well, it's because of Thor. Thor just steamrolled everybody. I was writing Hammer. Is it Hammer of the Gods, his finisher? I forgot. But I think it's something like that, Hammer of the Gods. I'm writing that on every result. Beats so-and-so. And then, so that was a great buildup. I said, there's your number 1 contender now for the belt held by Sutek. And suddenly he became ordinary. Didn't have. And like I said, then he came right back right afterwards. Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess Thor just wants to go through the trials. He doesn't want a belt.
Yeah, he doesn't worry about that. He didn't believe in himself during that match. Well, then, as part of a bonus card for the Mythworlds 2, Multiverse 2 Mythworlds set was this updated Shane artwork. And, I mean, I kind of know that the reaction to the last artwork maybe wasn't stellar, but what made you decide, like, okay, we'll do new art for Shane?
Well, partially it was that reaction, and partially because I agreed with it. And I thought, you know, this is a key character, and I changed him maybe a little too much, took away his rough edges. And that's who he is, a rough-edged, individualistic butt kicker.
Yeah.
From the Old West. It's kind of like one of those images that you just want to love. It's just Americana brought to the GWF. And I think it has worked in the GWF. And so even with all that Western lingo, it just seems somehow that I like the character too. I mean, usually if I like a character, I think I'm feeding off the energy of people who play too most of the time. So I thought he deserved this look. And do you feel that the fan reaction that people do like to have this card?
Oh, absolutely. Shane is one of my favorite characters of all time. Like, I think he's one of the greatest characters just because I love Westerns and I think he's a lot of fun. And, you know, that artwork for the bonus, it was in the bonus or was it Promoter Prime? I forget which one, but that artwork was, oh, well, this is like Shane on Night of the Town. Like, he's going out after, you know, like he had to get gussied up for the Hall of Fame ceremony or something like that.
Right.
You know, and I think people, I was fine with it, but I think there was a lot of people who were like, that's not Shane. Shane is, like you said, rough and rugged and all that. So,
this is the version I use.
Yeah, I use this version too. And I always say too, is like, is they're upside down most of the time when you're rolling out the matches, you know? So like the artwork, while the artwork is very important to me and to get the character's head in my mind, once the card is turned upside down, you're not really looking at it, you know?
Well, yeah, and for me though, it matters a lot. I'll give you an example outside of games. When I collect an album, if I buy an album for my collection, the cover's gotta be good. Otherwise, I'm not interested. So I can't get past a bad cover. In other words, somebody could say, well, all that matters is the music. It's not all that matters to me. Aesthetically, I need the whole package to work. And I feel that way about the characters too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you give me a choice, I'm definitely liking this one over the other one. But I thought the other one was just a different side of him we haven't seen.
That's what I could have lived with it, but I like this better too.
Yeah. And we have some poses here. Looks like he's leaning up against the bar in the saloon, maybe, in a couple of those.
Yeah, I didn't like that. It was too laid back. Um, the bottom right's aggressive, and I thought, let's go aggressive.
This
And then
one,
we had.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm going to let you talk before
Oh,
I
go
talk.
on. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, when I first saw this one, it almost reminded me of Jimmy Stewart. Like, it looked like Jimmy Stewart just in the face a little bit. How I don't know, and I love Jimmy Stewart in Jimmy Stewart westerns. So I thought this was really interesting.
Could I see the one we used again?
Yeah.
Okay, and then go back again. Okay, there is a difference here. I thought this aged him too much, and I wanted him to still have that look because he's not like he's old. Maybe that'll be his next. I'm not going to use this card again, I don't think, but maybe in another 10 years, this is closer.
Yeah.
But I wanted him still have that edge of looking still kind of young. And I wanted him to have the facial hair. I wanted that to look rough. Please note, it's a little thing. Maybe you did. I told him we got to take away the chest hair. He hasn't had chest hair up to now.
Oh, I don't know if, let's see. I don't know if we have one with the chest hair.
I mean,
oh, I see.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he seems like a guy who would have chest hair, but he hasn't had it in the past. And obviously, a lot of them shave that. But I didn't want that. I wanted to just stick to what we had before. Yeah, so you can see how, if I'm going to redo a card to make it better, I want to make sure it's better. So we went through a lot of changes here to get to where we got.
Yeah.
And I liked that last version. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sending you everything by any means. I have to narrow down what I send to you for all the cards.
Well, we appreciate you sharing that with us. We love seeing it. I did want to ask about which character in the Mythworlds 2 set took the longest to kind of come together, either with stats or with art. Which one, was the longest to nail down?
That's a tough question. I do want to say that all of them take a long time. I might have worked longer on Jade Emperor, especially with that look that we were talking about, skin color, eyeshadow being added. So it's hard for me to answer that because I feel like I put a lot of work into all of them.
Excellent. I also wanted to mention you have a new match as well in the handbook. And the new Ringside Companion Volume 2, currently available at filsingergames.com. There it is. Tom's holding it up.
Let me say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go on.
No, please.
We have, we, as I've been telling everybody, are going to be putting out all kinds of new stuff. Did you get this?
Yes, I specifically asked Mike because my first order didn't have the flyer. And I said, Mike, I need one of these flyers. So he sent me one.
So everybody can see, we really have been extra busy. And that Ringside Companion first printing sold out already. It's nice to know that there's even more people interested in all these things than we necessarily hear from. Like I'm a fan of some things, some sports teams, rock stars, whatever. But I don't go to message boards and talk and stuff like that. Well, we have a lot of fans like that too. They're going to the website, they might go to the discussion board, but they don't necessarily get involved a lot. And then you see that when you get the orders, a lot of people did start up with our Mythworlds 2 special offer. The new indie set, well, buying that, but the Ringside 2, phew, man, those are going fast. And it's worth it, don't you think? I mean, it's tons of pages and tons of stuff in there.
Absolutely. I have both my copies right here, ready to go. And I bought 2 copies of each, so I have 2 copies over at the game table too. So if I have to look up something, I can do. So
I'm using it already. there's a lot there. Well, now I'm talking about Ringside Companion 2. What was the question? I don't want to
Well,
get
I'm
off on
talking.
a different.
I mean, it leads into it, but it's the new match, the
Oh yeah,
Gungnir Weapon of Choice match, which I think is an
right.
interesting concept where you can bring whatever weapon you want to the ring. You know.
Yeah, I wanted to jazz up the trials and the labors and Jotnar by introducing a match that they would use, and so hence you got that.
Excellent. It reminds me of I remember when I was a kid watching this was WWW or WWF back in the early days, but I remember one time I think at the Cow Palace they showed promos that they were going to have a I think it's a bunkhouse battle royal. I don't know if that's what they called it, but it was a battle royal where you could bring whatever weapon you wanted to bring. And so all these guys were doing promos, and Greg the Hammer Valentine had a hammer, and I was like, he's gonna kill everybody with that hammer, you know. And I think the joke was like Lanny Poffo came out in a suit of armor, you know, like they did all this. So this match kind of reminds me of that. It's like well, I'm gonna bring my weapon. You know, it's not a battle royal, but I'm gonna bring my weapon to this match, and you know, watch out. So I think it's fun.
Wild. They didn't have any restrictions on it. They could have brought a bazooka or a
I guess,
sword.
yeah, gun
Okay.
or whatever. Yeah, yeah, I guess. Well, let's also talk about. I want to mention because you also sent along some art for the last cycle of Promoter Prime. We had some Best of Champions of the Galaxy edition cards. And it was a great surprise that Daryl Banks did the art for all of these. But the one I think this was a fan vote for which one to go in was Colossus. And you sent along some different poses for Colossus as well.
Um, uh, I'm glad we went with what we have now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, just
And
amazing work.
there's it might be too subtle and it might not even be here. On one of the drawings, and this might be it, I thought the snarl was too much for a hero. I might have asked him, and these are subtle things, to tone that down a little bit. It is toned down there a little.
Yeah.
It really comes down to that eyebrow and the shadow around it. I'm talking here.
Yeah.
And maybe even a little bit of the face. It's just as subtle as I wanted it to be. Just a little less on the mean look, but still intimidating.
Well, it's just beautiful artwork on these cards. I know I was there at Galacticon when people were getting them, and they were very excited for these cards.
Oh man, yeah.
Enigma.
I loved it.
Yeah, you know what I love about this is who did the first Enigma? Was it Larry Snelly maybe who did the first Enigma?
I can picture his, but I don't remember.
But like to me, this Daryl like really captured that card, but just in a different pose almost, you know?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, because he had those masks on his shoulders,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Something like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. You know, that's interesting that all I know is I don't know if I asked for one with and one without masks. I can't remember, but I liked the one on the right far more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great drawing.
Yeah, man, we are fortunate. And it's a good thing I went to Columbus one fateful day in the 90s or the zeros. I can't remember. I think it was zeros. And met him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely been a great asset to the whole game.
I think so.
And then the final card, which was a big surprise to everybody, was Bloodline, getting a best of card as well. And this artwork is really
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, you know, you've got different versions of Bloodline. You got to say to yourself, what is the classic version we're trying to focus on? And I thought this look was closest to that. I don't make those decisions in isolation. There are a team of people that I work with where I ask their opinion on something like that.
Well, what I like about this art too is, I think Jeremy Sue drew Bloodline a lot when he first arrived. I think Jeremy, if I may have that
Yeah,
wrong, but Jeremy Sue kind of did like a lot of the, like one of the cards. He has a big long ponytail and all this stuff. And I love that this card kind of does pay homage to that, with
yeah.
with the ponytail flying up in the back, and it's not as extreme as Jeremy's hairstyles were, but this is. I just like that. That's like a little subtle tribute to the way Jeremy drew him as well.
Well, I'm sure Daryl saw that, and what I was talking to you about earlier, him having a good sense of our characters and our community, that he might have thought that also.
Yeah. So just tonight, as we are recording this, you announced that Athena will be joining the Olympians. And can you talk about this card and using it or having her in Myth Worlds, and maybe what we can expect from the rest of this Promoter Prime cycle for Champions of the Galaxy?
All right. What we're doing is cards that will add with texture and more options. In other words, we're going to have an arena card, and we're going to have well, should I tell you everything now? Do you think?
It's up to you. I'm not going to say
Let
no.
me
It's up to you.
let me see. I'm an arena card. I'm definite. I need to wait and see the art for the other one, but it will not be a wrestler card. It might be something like a commissioner card or something like that card. And I'm still working on that, so I want to leave myself open to change my mind. But Athena got pretty much completed, and the card back is being finalized. I've already got the backs of the other cards, but I like to see the art because it affects how I view that character, which affects their stats. So there is like I say, several years ago, I redid Azuma. Well, that was monstrously good art, I thought. It made Azuma look so much more interesting and better that I had to make the card a little better. And I like the way Athena came along, and I've got an angle for her. I can paraphrase what I wrote in the news story if you want.
Sure.
So first of all, she gives the Olympia team a female wrestler. Well, they didn't have one. So to me, there was a void there. Why not fill it? But it now allows her to form a tag team with Iseus, which I called Goddess Energy. And they now can challenge Gladiator Storm or whatever people do who have female tag team champions in their feds. Now they'll have a named team and a good guy team. So anyway, I'm just saying she'll be added to the roster for those people who get Promoter Prime.
Excellent. Well, I love Promoter Prime when it deals with the main. I like all the other CWF and Kronos and all those are fine. But since I mostly just play the main thing, I love when we get even these little, Athena's great because it's a wrestler card, but even, you talk about Arena or whatever the other card is. I love having those cards for the main Fed because that's what I play. So I'm very excited that these are coming out.
Let me say, I will say about the Arena card that we are doing an Outer Realms Arena card.
Oh,
they're going to have their first place where you can go. Their people can watch all this.
Excellent. Well, can I make one suggestion for the Arena card? Because I think promoters love this. Is since you don't have it finalized yet, maybe this is something you could do. Is on the back, put the capacity, what the capacity of the arena is, because people love. I guess I love it. I love seeing the capacity on the back to say like, oh, this is how many people could fit in there.
Oh, good. Well,
Just
sure.
those little details.
Right.
Well, thank you for the scoop. That is awesome. We kind of talked about your Fed. I did want to ask, reading your results. Well, this is going back to the ringside companion, ringside companion again. Reading over your results, you seem to favor a lot of special matches when the feuds get hot and heavy. What is sort of, in your mind, what is sort of the arc of a feud like in your Fed? Like, do you have a set number of matches where it's like 3 matches and then the feud is over, or is it more free form, more by feel of how you decide when a feud is heating up or when a feud is cooled off?
No, the latter. And so they happen organically for me. Like I had a match. I don't even know why I had it. Teth versus Quental. I guess I needed another match on the card, and it seemed like a good idea. But that, became a feud. Kental, Teth was disqualified. No. Teth was counted out, and Kental just kept doing that bite of the serpent. I wrote that as he just destroyed Teth. He couldn't even get back into the ring. He was gnawing at him and causing so much damage to his head, and so that led to Demonicus now entering the fray. And now I've got a Kental versus Arc feud that's starting with the I forgot their tag team name right now. Forbidden.
Forbidden, yeah.
Right. So and that could grow. Now suddenly you might get the other guy. So it's very organic for me, right?
Excellent. I love it. I always love talking to promoters about the details of their Fed. One other thing I wanted to ask about your Fed is, are there any sort of house rules that aren't official rules? Like a lot of people use for disqualifications, they'll roll twice for disqualification, just so there's not a lot of DQs. Do you have any little house rules like that you like to use when you're playing?
They might be so automatic, I'm not going to be able to think of them right now. But I don't use the current charts, all of them, as they are presented. I like, and that's why it's nice to have Ringside Companion too, because a bunch of these charts are reprinted from the past. I like a previous Into the Ropes chart. I use that more. It's so if that answers that question,
sure.
That's one thing that's different. I'm sure there might be some others, but they become maybe so part of what I do that I can't think of them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. I always love, as I said, love talking to promoters about how they run their Fed, and that includes you, the ultimate promoter. Speaking of promoters, let's get to a couple promoter questions. We've talked for a long time, but if you have time for a few more questions, I would love to ask you. Paul asked, I was wondering how Tom went about deciding which wrestlers were main eventers, which one were upper mid-card, lower mid-card, and which one were enhancement talent whenever he creates a new set.
That's a great question, and it's been a tough balancing act forever. That concept of power creep, which is part of Magic the Gathering and a whole bunch of other games. I try to think in terms of those categories. I try to say to myself, I don't want too many people in that top category. It waters it down. And then, so I try to maybe slot people in different categories. And then there's also the category of more tag specialists than singles specialists, which is sort of a thing into itself also. So I guess intuitively, I try to balance it out. I'm very conscious of not making people too strong. And as a result, sometimes I might make them too weak. And sometimes when I'm playing, I think, maybe I should have made him stronger. But I'm always wary of that.
And someday Murtak will get his main event card. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I'm playing up that in my Fed right now. Murtak is incredibly jealous. I'm pushing Crude.
Yeah.
I gave Crude a main event match. That's first time ever, but he kind of earned it. He actually got a token on a Saber. I mean, I was, to be honest, I was rooting for him.
Yeah.
I really would. To me, he was like the ultimate underdog. And Murtak, and so Saber beats him. And Murtak is just so jealous. He was in the main event. He actually attacks him after the match is over when he's already down, saying he never deserved that. So I'm rekindling their feud on the undercard. So I like to involve everybody at some point.
Yeah.
It's just you got to pick your spots.
Yeah, I had on a recent card, Murtak beat Balder and beat him clean. It was like one of his first victories ever. And then I have Murtak as sort of the manager of Battlefield. So Tharkus and Saber, he's kind of their manager. So I had a thing in the match where Saber was going to reach for his saber to use it, for his finish, and the dice just rolled that he couldn't reach it. And in my mind, I pictured Murtak is holding it, but he's standing at ringside going, "Yeah, did you see me win earlier?" Like he's oblivious to what's going on in the ring, and Saber's reaching for it, but he's just like, "Yeah, I won earlier. I haven't talked kind of like Nikolai Volkov earlier this evening. I won. Perhaps you saw it, And meanwhile, Saber's trying to grab the saber. I just picture him. He's kind of, as he's talking, he's moving the sword around, and Saber's like, "Hold still."
Well, I think I wrote something a few years ago where he was supposed to hurt somebody outside the ring and kept missing or hit the wrong person.
Yeah.
That's Murtak. In my promotion, Saber would never trust him to be his manager. He barely tolerates that he's on the team.
Yeah. Well,
that's Tharkus's buddy.
Yeah, well, I also see Murtak as sort of like, well, I won, so I'm going to go with you to show you how to win because you don't know how to win. He just invited himself. It's not like they told him to come along. Let me go to the next question. This is from Kevin Butcher. He was wondering about changing the names of untrademarkable characters, kind of like Thor and Loki and the rest. DC has Norse and Greek mythology characters in their books. Marvel can trademark the look of their Thor, which is, he says, why it surprised him to see Thor with long blonde hair and a beard, while he was expecting him to be maybe more Norse looking, like an angry redhead. But and maybe you explain this with we imagine these myths in our brain, but why change the spelling of these characters that are sort of kind of recognizable?
Right. Well, I've changed their stories too. I'll give you two answers. One is you already gave one. We're not receiving literally. And if you look up a lot of these characters, their spellings do have different spellings over the years anyway. They're already different. Two, I didn't want to just look like we're just using all these things that have already been done, right down to the name and spelling. I wanted there to be a little bit of a difference to say they're in the Champions of the Galaxy universe now. And for the reasons you stated that we're not receiving accurately, and because I don't want to just use the same exact stuff, I think it's better this way. I feel much better this way. It feels like there's more me in it now than just, it's like if you cover a song by another group, why just repeat the song exactly as it is? Don't bother. Change it a little bit. Give us something new that you think adds something to it. I put spelling in that category, along with story.
Yeah. You want to put your spin on it. There's a lot of people who take public domain, like Winnie the Pooh went into public domain, but somebody's making a horror film of it. Somebody's making, they're putting their spin on it, not just making Winnie the Pooh again. So I can totally see that as a creator. Yeah. Rob has two questions, actually. The first one is he would like to hear more about where Tom is getting his influences from, and because specifically I'm trying to paraphrase this a little bit. He says that when he reads the opening scene, like, we talked about the opening scene in the handbook for Mythworlds 2, it seems very Marvel-esque type, like comic book type of story. Whereas he says the earlier, like the origins of the GWF were more kind of heavily influenced by wrestling. So you're getting more of like a movie script type of a feel than a wrestling promo, not a promo, but a wrestling segment type thing. So just wondering, where those influences are coming from, and Is that kind of the direction? We know a few years ago you were working on making a movie script with these characters. Are you still kind of headed in that way, or where are these influences coming from?
That's a good question. The game has evolved to being more fantastic in the storylines presented. It's been true, I think, for a little while now that the first thing that happens in a handbook tends to be the big story presenting itself. I don't think that this is the first time I've done that, but it's been more lately than in the past. Um, Let me say this as a creator. I have followed my own internal vision the whole time, and I have felt very fortunate that when I do, it still seems to work for most of the game fans. I'm just a person whose imagination is just extremely open. The Marvel universe, sci-fi universes, I like that. Multi-universes, I like that. Um, so I guess yeah, I don't know what else to say. You know what's interesting about the game though? I can create those multiverses and those wild situations in a whole new galaxy with mythological characters. And yet when I play, it's all wrestling mentality. Thor is getting into a feud with so and so because somebody attacked him outside the ring, and that led to this. So that those fantastic elements kind of disappear when you get to the actual Fed itself. So I just want to say, writing 50 plus game editions, I like exploring new territory. I think I just don't know how to do it any other way.
Excellent.
And there are a lot of people that like it a lot because we're getting people coming back with Myth Worlds. They just were intimidated by all those sets you have to buy. That's why I'm glad we did a new jumping on point. That's been good for us too. So anyway, I'm probably going to keep doing that. However, let me say this: a time to return to more purely wrestling-based storylines would be whenever 2140 happens, because now you're returning back to the home base. You kind of got to reset, really, a lot of things. I think at that point, that would be a set that I think will have more of the wrestling angles more up front. That's just me guessing the way I think I would approach it. Right now, when they're in a multiverse, it'll be more broader than that.
Yeah. Well, kind of continuing that, Rob's second question and you might have mentioned this, you might have answered this a little bit earlier, but what sort of wrestling are you watching now? Are you watching any of the current wrestling stuff? But you also mentioned you watching classic wrestling on YouTube as well.
Yeah. I watch the modern, let's say WWE, very sporadically, but I keep up with it. I understand the whole John Cena thing, which in my opinion was several years too late. If they'd have done that, I think even earlier it would have had a greater impact. But whatever. And so I'm aware of everything. I see highlights of things, but I'm always watching some wrestling stuff. Whether it's I like watching shoot interviews. I watch some of those. I watch classic matches from the 70s, 80s, 90s on up. So it's a smorgasbord. I wish there was a good indie promotion closer to me. I would go to that. In fact, I would even offer to manage sometimes. But Phoenix is almost 2 hours away. I don't have any connections with their promotions. There are promotions there, and maybe I'll contact them sometime. But so that's it. It's across the board. I'm still interested in wrestling. I still watch. They had a thing on YouTube I love. It was somebody took a handheld camera to Cobo Hall in 1970. Ringside, first row, no sound, no announcers. Like some highlights of a bunch of matches. Man, to me, that was a great era because that's the one I grew up with. Mm-hmm. And I love watching stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I was just searching for Johnny Valentine matches the other day because every now and then they'll drop a new one because they found it somewhere.
Right.
So I still love wrestling. That's part of my blood.
Do you have any favorite current wrestlers?
I'm still liking Kevin Steen.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the guys I like, and I like. Although I don't think it's been good lately, I liked the development of Roman Reigns, but I think I'd like to see that his angles develop better. I think this year has not been as good a year as, let's say, last year was for the development of that character. That's my opinion. Somebody else might totally disagree.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have a question here from FCB72. That's the username. I would like to ask Tom, with the big anniversary coming up next year, is it possible that you would release a double set? Since you alluded to the GWF returning to 2140 and Mythworlds continuing, would you ever consider releasing a set that establishes Mythworlds as its own and then a set that returns the GWF in 2140? Kind of like artists used to release double albums or box sets to commemorate anniversaries. So he's trying to get you with the album thing.
Well, those things influence me. I'm an aesthetic. When I buy a collectible album, that's where I got some of the ideas for those bonus materials. You remember and I was doing that a little bit more a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it really fit when I had that map of Centra. I think it was, I don't remember, Castellix maybe. You remember, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had the map of Castellix. You had the ticket for Diva. Yeah.
Yeah, and then these
the
little
ID
things,
card,
which I still use in my promotion.
Yep.
I put these out when I use them. So anyway, now I forgot the question.
Well, would you ever consider releasing a double set, set type thing?
I would consider it. It hasn't occurred to me. Next year is a big year. I want to do special things. I haven't started writing the next set yet, and I deliberately don't even think about it until December or January. It allows me to really immerse myself in the Fed. I really think that helps me to write better, to really feel the characters. And I love it. I still love it. I don't want to spoil it by trying to write ahead, because for me that spoils it. I'm spoiling me, instead of spoiling somebody else, and that me doesn't like it. Yeah. So I stay away. Get out of here, creator. Stay out of the room. We're having matches now. So I'll do that. That's possible. Now, next year's, like I said, a big year. You might have seen I wrote an Inside Tom's Brain at the message board. I haven't been able to get motivated to write the Dark Menace of the Universe updated. I don't know why. I even have it outlined. I even did some research on the psychology of creativity for it. However, but then I think next year, and the thing's out of print, and it was a popular book, even outside of our game fans, because some people like the creativity part of it. So right now I'm saying I'm gonna do that, and that'll be part of next year's celebration, is the Dark Menace book updated. And then I'm still ruminating over some of the special things we can do next year. Because you're only going to have one 40th anniversary. You might as well do something big.
Yeah.
Fun. Because then the next one's 50, and I got to tell everybody, hey, all my loving and fun and great promoter friends out there, be healthy. Eat well, sleep well, do everything you got to do, because you got to be around for number 50. I plan on it. So you might as well plan on it too.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait. I'll be there. Well, we've got just two more questions here. I'm going to combine two questions because they're kind of asking the same thing. Is there a mythology or a myth that you still want to use for a character that is maybe on that list of 15 you were talking about that you narrowed down to 5? There was the number 6.
More like 50.
50. Okay. Yeah.
That's possible. It depends on where Mythworlds goes next. And that's part of what I want to not speculate about at this stage. But let me just say this, assuming they don't stay in myth worlds forever, and that's a safe assumption, Godsend's going to have his fill at some point and say, all right, get out. So I like the myth worlds characters a lot. There's a lot to work with. Now there's a whole new universe to work with. I definitely see continuing that quickly, not waiting a few years, but since while it's fresh and while people still have those game cards, because you got to do something with those game cards. I'm not going to have all those people go with the GWF wherever they go. So I don't know if that answered the question, but I hope it did. Oh yeah, in other words, on that list, like you said, was a whole bunch of people, and so yeah, there's people who could still be entering at some stage.
Excellent. Well, Tom, I want to thank you on behalf of all the promoters for taking the time to do this. It is always a pleasure to do, and it gets me excited to play the game. I was played out a match before we started, and I'm going to go right back to playing matches. But thanks so much for talking to us about Myth Worlds 2.
Thank you, Grant. Same with me. I enjoy it very much.
There you go, friends. My interview with Tom Filsinger. I hope you enjoyed it. Excited to bring it to you every time that Tom wants to sit down and chat with me. And I think we covered a lot of really, really great things. There were some promoter questions I wasn't able to get to due to time. We talked for close to, if not over, an hour and a half. So I knew we needed to wrap it up, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to having Tom back on the show again. Thanks for being here, folks. I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Everything from clothing to household items are getting more expensive each day. The world of fast fashion has complicated clothing production by outsourcing around the world to whoever can sew them the cheapest. And now you, the consumer, are paying the price with rising costs. American Giant is about keeping things simple and close to home. They aren't affected by tariffs because their products never leave the U.S. So when you buy from American Giant, you're taking a stand for hardworking people, local communities, and quality clothes. American Giant directly supports American manufacturers and ensures you aren't footing that tariff bill. Support American-made, tariff-free clothing with American Giant. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off when you use code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com.